Hello, my name is Ebony Stocks. I am the Executive Vice President with the Prince George's County Economic Development Corporation. With everything that's been going on in 2020, MEDA decided to extend the celebration of Economic Development Week into a 10-week long tribute to economic development. Throughout this 10-week period, we're highlighting various industries and economic development partners. In this video, we welcome Jessica Reynolds from the Maryland Department of Commerce. Jessica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Ebony. Yes, I am the Senior Director of the Office of International Investment and Trade at the Maryland Department of Commerce. So our office is responsible for promoting exports, attracting foreign direct investment, and marketing the state internationally.
Great. So let's kick off with the first question. How has international economic development been different during this pandemic?
Well, there's the obvious one, which is there's no more travel. So without travel, that certainly forced us to kind of reassess and think about how we're going to continue those activities for which we're responsible. So, we need to think about how we could do things that normally would involve travel to a virtual setting. Such as trade shows, even outreach to companies with regards to exporting and what resources are available. And in addition to that, our team has also been heavily involved with the Commerce COVID-19 relief programs. Sometimes, which also require an international aspect, whether that's a language need or foreign suppliers trying to provide PPE or other necessary items to the state. So we had sort of an additional activity going on, and then also this need to pause and reassess how can we continue to promote international activities and exporting in particular when companies aren't able to travel. So we have done that in a number of ways. The main one is that we tried to, or what we did first, was to try to kick off some webinars. We did that through our partners, a group called the Maryland Partners in International Trade, which is with the District Export Council, the Center for Global Business, the University of Maryland, and the U.S. Export Assistance Center in Baltimore. And we put together a series focused on exporting in a crisis, because what do you do when suddenly all the things you would normally do stop working, in terms of travel or, how you would normally go about your business. So we put together that series to help companies focus on what they can still do to promote their export business and their export sales, even while you're not able to travel, you're in quarantine, everything has gone virtual. And we do have those posted on our website, the links to those webinars.
So has your focus been different as a result of the pandemic?
So apart from our staff, obviously spending some time on these emergency relief activities, our focus really remains the same. We still want companies to export and make export sales and continue to grow. We still want to attract foreign direct investment, and we still are trying to market the state internationally. We don't want to sort of fall off the radar of our international partners or potential investors. It's just really a different approach and trying to think about how we go about that and support our companies and our clients and our potential investors when we can't meet in person or travel like we're used to.
Right. So are you doing different things to support Maryland companies who are continuing to export during this time?
Yes, so in addition to that webinar series I mentioned, we started with the Exporting in a Crisis series. We're actually in the middle of a second series focused on risk, which is also very appropriate given everything that's been going on, and markets may be changing and it may feel more risky for companies. But in addition to that, it took us a few months to get our feet under us, but we have now figured out how to organize and carry out virtual missions. Our office normally would carry out trade shows, several a year, between 6 and 8, taking companies with us and providing an opportunity for companies to meet potential buyers abroad, and opportunities for us to also meet with foreign investors. And we've been able to transition some of those that had been canceled and transitioned that effort and that funding into virtual missions. So we've now carried out two, and one is sort of wrapping up now. We carried out a virtual trade mission to Bio Japan trade show, as well as matchmaking for companies. We had 8 companies participate in that show. And then we also carried out a virtual mission to Colombia, which also involved one-on-one matchmaking for companies. We also had 8 companies participate in that. And the event that's sort of wrapping up now, because one thing with virtual is everything doesn't have to happen in those
Right,
2 days or 3 days. It
right.
does stretch out as schedules require. But that was a virtual mission to Africa focused on healthcare, life sciences, and health IT. And while some of the scheduling is still going on, some of those meetings have already occurred. So that one I would say is sort of in the middle, wrapping up. And we do have a fourth one planned for Australia, probably will be focused on space industry,
Okay,
or might be a little broader. Perhaps it'll be a little broader, aerospace and defense. We'll have to see kind of how things shake out. But that one is scheduled for February or March. Um,
okay.
yeah, and depending on how things go, we have right now several in-person events
Mm,
scheduled. That haven't canceled or postponed yet. Some of
okay,
these were planned over a year ago, and they've been postponed to the spring or summer 2021. It's possible they'll be postponed again, or they'll be transitioned to virtual. And so at that point, we may see about flipping again to virtual and just having to be more flexible. But
right.
our main goal is that companies continue to meet potential investors and or buyers and make the sales that we want them to continue making. So.
Absolutely. Um, how are you continuing to work with the local economic development community?
So I have to say, with our panic mode on a little bit in those first few months,
Right.
we weren't as engaged as I normally would like to be. In the past, we have tried to stay engaged with our local economic development partners and try to have in-person events to promote the resources that we have available, the events we have coming up, because they really can be great opportunities for companies. And we do try to do that in different parts of the state. And with our local economic development partners. I will say that that's one area where we probably fell off a little bit, but we are looking to get back on track in 2021. And make sure that we are engaging. I mean, I think there's also I'm not even I've even met all of the current economic development staff. I think there's been some turnover in this time where we've been doing other things and had our focus redirected. But we'd really like to try and make sure that we're engaging with our local economic development offices, as they are the ones that know their companies and their clients the best and know who might be ready to export if they aren't
Right.
already.
Right, that sounds great. And I'm sure a lot of our economic development organizations welcome your assistance in helping our businesses export throughout the world. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Jessica?
Yes, so I would like to just mention that, due to COVID-19, and I mentioned already that some of our activities, were canceled or postponed. A lot of our activities are funded from a grant that we receive from the SBA called the STEP grant. And, last year's grant, because so many activities were canceled or postponed, we weren't able to carry out the proposed activities of that grant. They allowed us an extension on that grant. However, we also
Right.
had applied for additional funding. So what
Mm,
that means is I have 2 concurrent grants going on right now. And that means I have a lot of funds available to Maryland companies looking to export. We use those funds for both those in-person or virtual missions that I mentioned.
mm,
And we also use them for our Export MD grant, which some people may be aware of. But if not, it's a great opportunity for companies to take advantage of up to $5,000 in grant funds towards their export marketing initiatives. And the SBA has also been flexible during COVID-19 in allowing an expansion of non-travel related activities that are eligible and adding eligible activities. So for example, these funds don't have, most companies in the past have used them to travel, to go to a trade show or business development mission,
right.
but They can also be used for shipping sample products. They can be used for compliance testing in a foreign market. It can be used towards export, sorry, it can be used towards your website and either making that more international, translation, hosting fees for foreign markets. It can be used for digital advertising and placing ads, in foreign markets. It can be used for website development to accept international payments, online market listing fees, translation of print materials, videos. So there's a lot it can be used for. And in the past, it hasn't been quite as flexible on those eligible activities. So that's
Right.
one thing we're trying to get the word out about. And perhaps our local economic development partners would like to help us with that. I'd be happy to, speak with anyone who's interested in that, as we also have a bit of a time limit on getting those funds out by September. So looking to try and make sure our companies here in Maryland do everything that they can during this period to maybe prepare for when it's time to travel again and have their websites up and ready and whatever else they may need.
Great. Sounds like a great opportunity for some of our businesses who have been considering exporting. And with this expanded criteria and use of funds, this is a great time, it sounds like, to consider exporting. So that's great news. I will definitely say that Prince George's County will be reaching out to you
Great.
and our businesses to take advantage of this expanded criteria and opportunity. So, Jessica, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who are watching. I encourage you to visit the MEDA website to learn more about economic development in Maryland. The website is medamd.com. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Ebony.